Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about the Forever Purge.
The annual purge will conclude in 3, 2, 1.
And real quick guys, before we get to this video, if you would please hit that like button because that really does help this channel out so much. So I just went and saw the Forever Purge, and the first thing I gotta say is I cannot wait for Halloween. I know that's not what you're expecting me to say. I have seen the trailer for the new Halloween Kills a couple times, right? On my computer, laptop, whatever. But I had yet to see it on the big screen. And just seeing that trailer on the big screen got me so excited. But we're not here to talk about Halloween Kills. We're here to talk about the Forever Purge. So here's the thing. I always try to do spoiler-free reviews, especially of anything newer. But it's going to be difficult with this one, and not because I'm going to give away spoilers, but because the damn trailer gave away so much of this movie. There is countless moments in this movie, if you've seen the trailer, where you basically know if someone gets out of a situation or who's gonna live, all these different things, because you come up on that scene and you're like, well, I already saw that in the trailer. And I'm not someone that even remembers trailers that great, but because of this one being so on the nose and showing you very specific moments, it really gives away some pretty important scenes.
All crime, including murder, is now illegal.
But with that being said, let's get to some of my thoughts and opinions and feelings on this movie. So I really enjoyed the art design and the overall look of a lot of things in this movie. It's one of the main reasons that I personally enjoy the Purge movies. I love the mask, I love the cinematography and the way they shoot things. Just overall, it's got a really cool feel to me. I really appreciated the opening credits of this movie. It's got this really cool artsy type of feeling, like they're stills, but they're animated and they're kind of moving and flashing. It just, I don't know, I can't really describe it, but I thought it was very cool, and being an artist, I just really appreciated it. So let me get to some of the main things that I had an issue with. I'll talk more about things I enjoyed about it later, but to start off, the race card, the way it's played in this is so on the nose, so heavy-handed. From the very beginning, I could see who was going to play what role and how the race card was going to be played and what they were going to do and just how the things were going to play out for the most part. And a lot of that just felt so forced and heavy-handed to me that it just kind of took me out and just kind of soured me from the very beginning on a lot of that stuff with this movie. And even though a lot of the views and different things that they do talk about in this movie, I do stand behind in a lot of ways, it was just so forced and so pushed that even if I did agree and like what they were trying to say, it just was pushed in such a way that it just soured me, and it made me just really not give a crap about what they were trying to kind of preach and kind of force down my throat. And I tried to look at this movie as if I was someone that was kind of coming from an opposite point of view, and that these were issues that I didn't necessarily agree with, because I'm not going to get into politics and what my personal views are on here, but I have friends that are on both sides of the fence when it comes to this, and this was so heavy-handed into the liberal, like, gun control type of stuff that it just really kind of turned me off. And it just made me feel like, hey, I know the Purge movies have a political agenda to a certain extent, and they're trying to push a message to a certain extent, but it was so overshadowing the fact that I was there to see a horror movie that, I don't know, it just really bothered me. I just feel like you can have a powerful, important message, and even one that not everybody agrees with, and yet still make a solid, enjoyable movie that I think everybody on both sides can at least enjoy. It also really uses race when it comes to the villains and who they are, which I can appreciate, because they're talking about a lot of the Hispanic struggle in America, and I really respect that, and I can definitely understand the pain. I've grown up around a lot of Hispanics. I'm very much behind Hispanics getting equal rights and treated the way they should be treated, and treated with respect and all that. But I felt like the way they played the racial villain kind of people were just so stereotypical and just really, really ridiculous, to the point where I felt like it was very kind of unrealistic and just didn't show the way racism really rears its ugly head, because racism isn't in the guy with the giant swazi on his face. Racism is in the regular old businessman in a bank who treats people like shit. Racism is in the front yards where people look down their nose at their landscapers. That's racism. It doesn't have to be a giant swazi on a bald dude's face. And it just bugged me. It made me feel like these were really kind of stereotypical and just over the top villains that just, once again, took me away from what they were really trying to say. So even though the message is given very heavy-handed throughout the movie, there are a few really powerful speeches given by the cast that I did really appreciate, and I loved what they had to say. Sadly, because the overall message was so on the nose and so forced, those messages kind of just fell on deaf ears a little bit, I feel. But I still really appreciated what they said, and I thought that those were done really well. I loved the fact that we had 2 Hispanic leading characters that did an outstanding job and definitely shined brightly in this movie. And not only were they there for dramatic purposes and stuff, and their acting, but they were also badasses. They had a lot of fight scenes and just really kicked some serious ass too, which I loved and appreciated.
The purge is over, please!
No, it ain't.
So I want to say the leading actors' names in this film, but I know I'm going to butcher them, but let me just try to give it a shot, I guess. But if it comes out horrible, I do deeply apologize. So I'm just going to read the cast right off my tablet, even though I look hokey, but so that I'm at least able to somewhat say their names right. But it was Tenoch Huerta, who played Juan, who was amazing and just had some really badass scenes and some really powerful lines. And then the actor who played his wife was Ana de la Reguera, who played Adela. Sorry, I know I'm butchering their names. And then the supporting cast was also really, really good, with Josh Lucas playing Dylan Tucker, and then Will Patton playing Caleb Tucker. They just all did such a good job in this movie and really carried this film in a lot of ways. Another thing I really appreciated was the way tension is built in this movie.
Anything goes. There's nowhere safe to go. No way to get help.
There's long stretches of this movie where you are really on the edge of your seat, where they are trying to creep by these villains, but also police and government, because you can't trust anyone at this point. The whole world is basically just erupted into this giant war zone. I also love the way it's shot. There's these overhead shots where you could just basically see the whole city on fire and just see violence breaking out everywhere, which just looked fantastic. Another thing that looked absolutely amazing to me was these night scenes where they're driving down this long stretch of highway and there's nothing but darkness, and then these big, huge bonfires every now and then on the side of the road. Just the way it looked was just awesome. I absolutely love that, especially on the big screen. But I just gotta reiterate again how much the trailer goofed stuff up. It's just like over and over there would be a scene and I would just be like, oh man, I know what's gonna happen here.
Oh my god.
We gotta find another way to get out of here.
Like over and over. The fact that you know right away that this first purge that they're preparing for and they're trying to build tension, that the purge is coming, you know that nothing's gonna really happen, because from the damn trailer you see shit doesn't hit the fan until the next day when they decide that purge is forever, hence the name Forever Purge. So it's like, that really hurt in a lot of ways too, because you could see that they really were trying to build some really solid tension with them bunkering down to try to survive Purge Night and all this. But you're sitting back going, I can't feel any tension from this whatsoever, because I know nothing really happens until the next day. It felt like long, boring stretch because of that. Instead of you being invested in this first half hour of the movie, instead you're just waiting because you know shit's gonna hit the fan, so you're just waiting for that to happen. So as much as there were different things that I didn't like, the main thing that just blew me away, there's 2 things. The first one is the gore. I cannot understand for an R-rated movie why they over and over and over would literally cut away from violence. Like right before someone shoots someone in the head, boom, cut away. Like every time it was this powerful, intense moment where you're just waiting to see what's gonna happen, they would just cut away at the last second, and I just don't get it. I mean, I understand that these aren't supposed to be the most gory movies ever, and that's fine, but dude, it is done to a point where it almost felt like they were trying to be PG-13, but yet there was so much other stuff that it's like, well, obviously you weren't going to be PG-13. So, I don't know. The other thing that honestly really disappointed me and bothered me really, really badly is one of the main things that made me just really not be a big fan of this movie, and that's the mask. Because there's all these promos of these guys in these cool looking masks, and they're almost not even in the movie. There's a couple early scenes where you see some really cool costumes, some really cool masks, but it's such a short time, and then it's just like lots of overhead violence and just people killing people, but not really any costumes. Just all hell's breaking loose. It's like a war zone, but nobody's really wearing costumes. And I understand, because at this point nobody gives a shit because the purge is over. They're just like basically all civil war breaks out. And so I get it from that standpoint, but when you're promoting these looks and these costumes and masks, and it's one of the main things that is known about the purge, and one of the things that kind of separates it from other horror movies, I felt like it just, I don't know, me personally, I expected more, and it really bothered me like a lot. It was like, come on, really? Like, you're not gonna have almost any cool costumes or masks besides the first, the very beginning? I don't know, maybe that's just me and other people wouldn't be bothered by that, but for me it was really a big issue. Another lame thing this movie did is it just never felt like it really had the balls to it. Instead of really going for the jugular in different scenes, like I said, how they'd cut away from gore, well, they also let certain characters in certain scenes survive or die, but in not that, I don't know, powerful of a way. I mean, like, you have these villains or whatever that you really want to see die in this most brutal, fucked up way, and then they basically give them just a pass, or they end up living, or they die, but it's just like, whatever, not a big deal. Or even your heroes. I just felt this movie never had the balls to really sacrifice anyone or really go for it when they could really kind of pull at your heartstrings or really get you invested. They just didn't, and that also was really disappointing. Another thing I really liked and really appreciate about this movie, though, is the overall concept. I'm not saying that the script and the dialogue and just the way it was written or done was the best. It wasn't bad, but I'm not saying it was the best. But the overall concept I really liked a lot. I especially liked the idea of Americans having to now flee and escape to Mexico. And I felt like even though they overdid the whole message and all of that, that one key element, if done right, could be really powerful. And there were certain elements about the way they did do that that were done really well. I really enjoyed towards the end when they're sneaking through, I think it's El Paso, maybe I'm wrong, but they're sneaking through this town in Texas trying to get across the Mexican border to safety, right? And the way it looks like absolute all hell, just full on war has erupted, and the way they shoot it and the way the tension is built in that part, it's just done fantastic. It's really the part of the movie that I was the most invested and really did enjoy a lot. All in all, I just didn't find this movie to be very scary at all, because so many times the tension could be built more, but different things would happen to pull me out, and just a lot of things weren't executed enough to really give it a scariness. But that being said, overall, it wasn't bad. It's not a horrible movie. I know I picked it apart, and I know I said a lot of negative things about it, but if you go into it kind of expecting that message to be really heavy-handed and enjoy the things that are there to enjoy, the action, the way the actors do such a good job, like things like that. But I probably would say it's my least favorite of all the Purge movies, because it just felt to be the most heavy-handed, as well as the one that had kind of the least costumes and masks and all of that. But the acting, the production, a lot of that stuff is better than a lot of the other Purge movies. It's just, to me, those two things stood out and really pulled me out of it enough that I just didn't enjoy it as much as I could have. So to me, I'd give it somewhere middle of the road, C plus kind of thing. But I do still recommend checking it out, especially if you're a fan of the Purge movies, because I think there is still enough here that you would enjoy it. But I don't know, this is just my opinion like always, which I get people hating on that all the time, but it's like, guys, that's kind of what this channel is. It's just me giving my opinion. I'm just some dumbass who just likes to talk and hopefully give you guys a little bit of entertainment. But I don't at all think I'm some critic, genius movie guy, because I'm not. But that's going to do it for me today. Please, in the comments, leave some of those. I love hearing from you guys. Talk back at me. And I also would really appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel and when I post videos like this. And I try to post videos like this at least 2 times every week. And I also want to give a huge thank you to my patrons, because you guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to find out more about becoming a patron, the link is down in the description. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember, guys, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.
no!
English! Speak!
Does this translate?